This session today in Unit 7, we will be studying about agri-business environment under the subject business environment. What we are covering is introduction to business environment. So each environment, like yesterday we talked about financial environment, industrial policy environment. Before that, we studied about financial environment. We are giving you a broad idea, introduction to this environment. If you want to go deep, you can go deep on your own. But we are covering here the broad view of what has happened to how the agribusiness policies and other things have changed over a period of time. So with this introduction, I am going to the objective of today's session. So after this session, Unit 7, you should be able to analyze the trends in agriculture production, sales and exports in India. So we will be catching from post-independence and then in between 40 years, that is 60s, 70s, 80s, and then 91 when India liberalized, how the things, the agriculture changed over time. Then we'll explain the framework of evolution of farm policies in India, how the once you implement a policy, it takes time to give result on the ground. So after some years, you come to know whether there are flaws or there are some improvisations are required or not. So that framework you will understand. You will analyze the farm reform of 2020, which was tried by the government. But unfortunately, there was a lot of opposition to it. So it is still, could not be implemented, though it was passed by the parliament and subsequently it got approval of the President of India. So we will identify the gaps and key players who are in the agricultural sector so that you have an idea of how the agricultural sector moves. We will draw a comparison between state-specific industrial policies in India and assess the role and importance of agricultural marketing. Okay, so let us go ahead with the introduction. Post-independence, the agricultural sector has witnessed a mixed path with significant progress in agricultural development in India. I'll start here. So when Britishers left, they reduced us to a poor agricultural economy. We are not using highly sophisticated tools. We are not using modern fertilizer. We are not using modern farm equipments and etc. So, and that is number one. And that is to our agricultural holdings were very fragmented because most of the people were dependent on agriculture. There was hardly any industry. What happened is that suppose my father had 4 children, but my father had 1 acre of land. So that 1 acre of land was divided into 4. Similarly, if I have 2 child and my other brothers have, so that land was divided into 8. So in this process, we have very small holding of lands. Now, if the holding of lands are small, it's very difficult to use technology or farm equipments like tractors or other equipments for farming. So you use that cattle गाय से जो हम खेती का लांगल टानते हैं, you have the famous scene of Mother India. The same way the farming was going on. So during the initial year, there were some hiccups and growth stagnated. So in this way, you cannot grow beyond a capacity, number one. Number two, there will be 2 seasons, rainy season and winter season, Rabi and Kharif, we call it. So only there will be 2 crops, and mainly people used to go for wheat or rice, and tertiary they used to grow some vegetables. Partly they used to keep for themselves to feed them throughout the year. Some good crop used to be kept as a seed for the next season rather, and rest were brought to the market for sale. But during the mid-60s, government introduced some of the policies and measures, etc., and growth of, that is yield. Growth means yield per acre or whatever measurement you take, started growing and gained momentum, especially during mid-80s, but losing space again in 90s, because any new thing you apply, initially you will get the benefit, but after that it tapers off unless you bring in something different. In recent years, for those dependent on agriculture as a key source of livelihood, it is turning an unsustainable in terms of economic and social consequences. Why unsustainable? Because, as I told you, land holding is becoming small. So whatever crop you, yeah, and the price you get, you really cannot live a good life. So there is a major migration is taking place, and also if you have seen in and the price fluctuation also you are dependent on that. Weather fluctuation you dependent on that, and these things have resulted in acute farmer suicide. Every half an hour, one farmer suicides in India. That is a not my statement. That's a record by National Crime Record Bureau (NCRB). So majority agrarian crisis with a sweeping migration to cities and farmer suicide, etc. So in the city, you will find a lot of agricultural laborers are coming in. They are untrained for any city job. So they open some sort of small chai shop or some manual labor and etc. etc. Or those who cannot, they commit suicide there because they are burdened by the debt and unpredictable weather and the unpredictable market price of their produce. Our import needs are well established when it comes to essential food products such as pulses and edible oils. We, the consumers, we need dal and we need edible oil and etc. We don't produce that much because that needs subsequent processings and etc. So this we have to import. So we are, though we are an agrarian commodity country, we do import a lot of food grains in the not in the raw form, but in the processed form. Beside that, I would like to add, like if you cultivate maize, to a great extent it goes to the animal feed also. The poor cows and other things, they need to be fed. So this tertiary sector, livestock economy, was also growing with agriculture, but they are also to be fed and taken care of. So, to understand the various trends and factors responsible in shaping India's agricultural landscape, it is essential to know the economic reforms and regeneration with a sustained and broad-based agricultural development. So, we need to know that what was the economic reforms that government implemented, and so that there is a sustainability of agricultural development. This unit brings forth some of the important issues to understand agriculture development in details. That's what we'll go for the next. Trends in agriculture development, production, sales, and exports. You'll be surprised. Though we talk about there are a lot of people who are dependent on agriculture, who are hunger, they're committing suicide. At the same time, we do export a lot of agricultural products. Now let me go to the write-up. More than half the century is reliant, half the country is reliant on agriculture since it's the prime source of living and employment. It's not that all are farmers, but they are linked to their agriculture. How? Suppose I have a shop, I sell fertilizer and other thing. I have a shop, I buy the produce. I have a small manufacturing unit where I make mustard oil or some oil by the primitive method. So these people are indirectly or directly linked with agriculture. Technically, they are not only farmers, but there is a whole economy which is linked to the agriculture. The person who is making the lagar, आप जो जानते हैं, जो किसान जिससे खेत बोता है, वो that item, and they are the carpenters, they are the लोहा का काम जो लोग करते हैं, they make the equipment for those farmers. So they are all linked to the agriculture. Because if agriculture farmer does not earn, they will not buy those equipments. So his income will also come down. As per provisional estimate, always when we take a latest data, it is a provisional estimate. It's a huge country. Gross value added, GVA is gross value added, as percentage growth in the agriculture and allied sector. Allied sector means your vegetable crops and other crops, livestock, fisheries, horticulture, etc. registers a growth of 10.4% during 24-25. In spite of various problems which is inherent in the agriculture sector, we have seen there is a growth because a group of farmers are shifting to multi-cropping. So if they have rice field, they put water there. They are also putting fish seeds there, so they get some fish out of that, and they get some extra income. They have some livestock, घर में 4-5 गाय रख दिया है, or cows are there, so they milk it. Some of the milk they keep for the household consumption, balance they sell it to the market like that. They also in the farm where they have perhaps they are cultivating wheat and other thing. In between that, they may be doing some vegetable cropping. In this way, they are trying to increase their and they, for that there is guidance from the government and etc. There is agriculture mitra, Kishak mitra, and other people are involved there. Excuse me. So various government initiative, investment and interventions. Initiatives government has taken, investment government has made, intervention government has done in Indian food processing sector. Because what happens is that what you produce as an agriculture, ultimately rice will go to the rice mill, it will be dehusked, and then if it is basmati, it will be exported, or it will go to the higher HNI people who will be consuming it. If it is dal, it has to be processed. And now there are a lot of other products which are to be processed and come into as a food processing industry. So food processing industry is very important so that they can absorb the agricultural produce. And there the need for foreign direct investment is very important. Like you have, suppose you are having corn chips or popcorns. Now this is basically maize. Now, but when 1 kilo of maize is, maybe the price will be only 30 rupees or 25 rupees or something like that. But when its maize is processed and it is becomes a popcorn and it is packaged, then only 50 grams ke liye you'll be paying 10 rupees. Okay, that means you are paying 200 rupees or something like that per kilo. This is the value addition happens. So this is why food processing industry is important for agricultural growth and increasing the income level of the farmers. Now, various government initiatives like Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. Why Fasal Bima Yojana? Because suppose I have taken a lot of trouble and cultivated rice or wheat, but then there is a flood, or there is there is no rain. So all my effort goes for a toss. So that's why I can buy a Bima Yojana from the bank who is financing me, and from that the bank will recover the loan I have taken to cultivate the land. That is the purpose of Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. National Animal Disease Control Program is also again there is a foot and mouth disease बोल के disease होता है cows का particularly. And you know, because Gujarat separated the operation flood, that is the milk, Amul. So this disease, it kills the cows. So there was a very, on a mission mode, government applied this National Animal Disease Control Program and injected those animals everywhere. Those animal husbandry doctors are there in different villages or blocks, and this disease was brought under control. Then PM introduced PM Matsya Sampad Yojana, because if you see our huge coastline as well as the number of rivers and other things in India, there is a huge scope of fish production, which goes for export also. There's coastal or sea fish, and the inland or sweet fish that is called, that is a huge demand in the market. So there is a government came out with a scheme so that they can buy their boat or they can buy their net and they can do, and there should be a mandi, or there should be a fish market where they can auction and they can get a better price. E-Gopala app was developed for the cow maintenance and other thing, transport and marketing assistance. Now you produce 10 tons of, but how do you carry it? You need a Tata truck and you need a marketing assistance. So all these things where government was slowly building up one after another, and finally in 2002 or 2016, in between that a lot of other things have also happened. We'll come to it later on. In 2016, National Agriculture Market. The Prime Minister said, let one nation, let there be one market. So there is a e-market was developed, National Agriculture Market, a pan-India electronic trading portal. There you can come and you can say, I have this, there will be quality certification. So it is existing Agricultural Produce Market Committee mandis to create a unified national market for agriculture commodities. What is Agriculture Produce Market Committee? We'll come to it later. You understand simply, if I am producing a lot of fasal, then I can go to this national agriculture market and I can bid for the price, and if I get the price, I can sell it. So there will be go down, there will be receipts, and then I can sell the receipt, and the person who is buying, he will go and pick up the material. So this was an e-marketplace, like I buy from Amazon books. This is a place of wholesale trading in agriculture products. Niche, I have given a small graph how between 2013-14 to 2023-24, 10 years, our exports have increased. Agriculture exports has grown, partly because of the during the COVID, there was a huge demand for agricultural exports in outside countries, and also because of the huge land mass we have, there is a demand for agriculture product in different countries which are unable to produce sufficient agricultural products. So they are importing from us, like Arabian countries and Europe, etc. Now we'll go to the evolution of farm policies in India. What we need to understand the flow of events. We have broken it into 2-3 parts. First, I will let you know that Constitution, when it was designed, some of the activities were left to the state, some were center, some were combined. Since agriculture is a very localized activity, it is in the state list. So only individual states have the power to legislate on such matters, but central government also has residual power. Suppose you are not exercising your power, central government can use its power for agricultural development. Now let's look at the policy. 47, we became independence. 47 to 65. This is the period in which we were achieving self-sufficiency was the primary objective, so that you produce enough so that no Indians are starving of food. Beside that, food security was important. To place an upper limit on the size of agricultural land holding, so what has happened that Jamidari land holding was huge, so they were hired laborers, farmers. So to break that chain, this Jamidari Pratha was demolished, and agricultural land holding limit was set. And so the excess land was then distributed to the landless laborer. So to place an upper limit on the size of agricultural land holding, establishing state control on vacant land, and to distribute the acquired idle land to the disadvantaged rural population was established to provide security to the renter. Renter means, suppose I have a huge land, so some farmer will come say, Babu, give me this land, I will produce the material, this much I will give it to you, this much I will keep for myself. It was a very good mutual understanding was going on, but there was somewhere it was exploitative also. And then, but government felt this should be brought under a law, and then the agricultural land holding was sealed. So now the farmer who was cultivating in Zamindar's land or a big landowner's land. He got his piece of land, and this was also partly the created fragmentation of landholding. So if you go by train or even by plane or by bus, you will find our agricultural lands जो अली रहता है, the agricultural lands are not very large like we see in English films, a huge plot of land. It's not like that. These are small plots of lands. 65 to 80, this was the golden era because green evolution started. Interestingly, Mr. M.S. Swaminathan, who is called with the Green Revolution, it was launched in Punjab, and high yield variety of wheat was started. India imported from Brazil and other places, and then they adopted that because if you import from Brazil, it is suitable for Brazil's climate and other thing. So scientists led by M.S. Swaminathan, I repeat the name Mr. Swaminathan because his contribution to the agriculture is huge. So they adapted the seeds to the Indian condition in the same nature, land, weather, etc. And the type of pest, यानी कीड़ा वगैरह सब चीज देख के they adopted and they give a high yield varieties. So there was a huge growth in wheat output, rice output, and then they adopted improved pesticides, fertilizer. Vakra Nagal dam was done, irrigation started, either Damodar Valley Corporation or DVC started, and these type of huge irrigation, first of all, they can produce electricity, the extra Hirakud Dam in Odisha, and extra the rainy season may when there is a huge rain, they can store the water, and when there is this lean period, there are canals through which the water goes to the field. So this is the way the agriculture was given support in the form of irrigation, so that water is available most of the time. Then there was a fertilizer was available all the time. These were all subsidized by the government. Okay, and also high yield variety of seeds. Because if you see, I'll give a separate example. If you see the typical Indian cow, it will give a 7 liter or 8 liter of milk. But if you look at a New Jersey or Holstein, these are the imported cows who are adapted to Indian condition. They give 22 liters, 30 liters of milk in each milking period, each day. So similarly, when they brought in the seeds from outside, they tried to adopt it and they tried to increase the yield. The government set up important institutions also. To grow, you need a couple of things: institution, a credit facility, a supply chain, input supply chain and output supply chain. That means the seeds, the fertilizer and other things should reach the farmer, and the final produce should reach the market. And there should be a credit facility which will be linked to the whole system. So the government set up important institutions in 65. One was the Commission of Agricultural Cost and Prices. So you will calculate what will be the cost and price of the agricultural produce. Then Food Corporation of India, you have seen if you go by rail and other thing, there's a huge godowns. Food Corporation of India buy the stocks and keep it in their godown, so that when there is less crop and other thing, they can distribute it at a lower cost. Even in the urban sector, the ration is run by the FCI, stocks from FCI. And then RBI started new financial institutions. You all heard the name of NABARD, National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development. And also another credit delivery mechanism was started by the nationalized bank and the concerned state government. So in each state, there were some regional rural banks were set up, particularly dedicated to give credit to the rural and small industries in that state. So they were called regional rural banks. Like Odisha, you have Utkal Gramin Bank. Similarly, Chennai, you have something rural bank, etc. This was the architecture till the 80s. 80 to 90, we continued with this growth. We got the result. It was centralized in certain locations. So now it has been spread all over the India. So corresponding years, May 80s to 91, expansion in the use of green revolution technologies, techniques, and to other crops and region, whether other crop be, we can increase the production or not. As agriculture output rose, production began to diversify. So now farmer also realized if I produce other products, commodities, tertiary products like fish, poultry, milk, fruits, vegetables, then I yield better price in a very short period of time because it takes hardly 60 days to 70 days to get a vegetable crop, whereas it takes 4 months or 5 months of and then the selling and etc. for the rice or wheat. So they were intermittently they were producing, and if you have cow, you milk, you get the cash. If you are into the cooperative, within 15 days you get the cash. If you poultry, you can have egg that is layers, or you have broilers which are for meat purpose. So this is multiple income sources were made available to the agriculture communities. 1990 World Cup, when Indian economy was opening up, globalizations and other things, a major step was transition from public distribution system. I was just telling you, public distribution system, urban area mein, because they were not growing foods, but they were poor people. They needed saste mein, chawal, dal, etc., etc. So there was a public distribution system. So on the one hand, government was procuring for the farmers, storing into Food Corporation of India's godowns. And the other hand, they were distributing it through the public distribution system. And it was a targeted public distribution system in 1997, aimed to ensure that impoverished people, the people who are below poverty line or those who are in the line, get access to food at subsidized prices. So sugar, which we were always short supply and other thing earlier, in the days, these I'm talking 51 to 91. So sugar, rice, wheat, and other things were available from these ration shop. You can call them, they are the public distribution shop, commonly known as ration shops, or they were also distributed through state cooperative shops. In July 2020, Government of India announced country's first, imagine, 47 we got independence, but July 2000 we had the first national agricultural policy. When I do a policy, I aim at a growth rate. Yeah, okay. Having this population, each population's demand for looking at the nutrition value and other thing, demand for food is like that. What should be the agricultural growth rate? So the targeted growth rate was 4% per annum. Objective of this policy was to create employment opportunity for rural population, because once you produce, you need cold storage, or you need storage unit, you need marketing people, you need rural transportation system, and etc. So the moment a village gets connected with the city roads, for the village, market opens up to the city. I hope I have made it clear. If a village is connected to the city road, national highway, so the villager, whatever they produce, either through the bullock cart or through those vehicles which are operating in the rural sector, they can bring the produce to the national highway, and through that they can go to the nearest market. So this system was slowly built up. Prime Minister Sadak Yojana was one of the great achievement in achieving this connectivity. Now comes the marketing policy. Agriculture production ho gaya. Now you have to market it. So the national policy for farmers approved by the Government of India recognized need to emphasize on increasing farmers' income. So please note here, all the time we are trying to increase farmers' income along with the production, so that it is a fair thing. He's increasing the production, so his income should go up. The 5-year plans at that time, there were 5-year plans, planning commission was there. Also recommended policy initiative to enhance working on agriculture sector. National Food Securities Act, that means nobody should die out of hunger, was enacted in 12 September 2013. That means we'll produce, store, and make food grain available to all the citizens, and nobody should die out of hunger. That was the National Food Security Act's main objective. Besides, much earlier, there was an act was Essential Commodities Act, an earlier amendment to the Indian Constitution. Mind it, it's a constitutional amendment, granted Union government a statutory right to standardize and regulate production, pricing, and delivery of essential commodities. Though the agriculture was a state subject, but Constitution gave right to the Union government, that is central government, that you can standardize, regulate production, pricing, and delivery of essential commodities. So, fundamental policy instrument is the Essential Commodities Act, which aims to control production, supply, distribution, and pricing of essential commodities. So, in one hand, farmer gets the right price for his produce. On the other hand, the urban poor or others, though who are not farmers, they get the basic essential things at a reasonable price. To ensure the essential commodities are made available to the consumers at fair price. So ultimately, there is a big link between the consumers and the farmers. Consumers also do not like to exploit the farmer, and farmers also do not like to earn a lot at the cost of consumers. So government has to create that balance. The farmer gets a fair deal for his labor and his produce, and the people who are poor, below poverty line, or marginally above poverty line, they get at a fair price, and they also get their food requirement. Moving further, 16 and 70s, most of the states passed agricultural produce market regulation. So by 50s or 60s middle, when the excess high yield variety and excess produce was there, then what happened is that farmer got enough produce to give it to the market, keeping aside something for his whole year's consumption. So the government realized that I need now a agricultural produce market regulation act and something like that. So these acts, popularly called APMC Act, and they regulate markets through agricultural produce market committees. So there will be a market committee where there will be farmers, there will be block development officer and other government officials, and they will decide the price and how much to buy from which farmer. So APMCs have the power to control agriculture market. Note this point. APMCs, these committees, have the power to control agriculture market, regulate all features of marketing, including imposition of a mandi tax for trade, because the mandi has to be not a burden on the state. So there will be a tax, token tax to be charged, how much you are selling in the mandi. And there was a both on and off the wholesale markets. It was technically a wholesale market, but on the other hand, if there is a retailers who are into the urban cities who want to stock these products, or suppose I am agriculture rice mill, I can buy from this market and etc. etc. So in 2003, Ministry of Agriculture, but what has happened actually, every state has, because it's a state act, so every state has different type of terms and conditions, which was creating a little bit of unfair between the states. So in 2003, Ministry of Agriculture, under which the whole agriculture activity comes in, they created a model APMC. This is the model APMC Act, and circulated into the states so that they could modify their individual acts. And this was followed by the model APMC rules. First, you make the act, then you make the rules and regulations. So then there is a lot of uniformity was brought in into the APMC operating system. After that, there was minimum support price. So this is a government's moral responsibility came in. Because when you go to the market can dictate a price which may be lesser than your cost of production. So what do? That is why government, as I told you earlier, agricultural cost and bureau and other thing was set up. They will calculate the cost of producing 1 kilo or 1 ton of rice or wheat, etc. And they will declare this is the price at which minimum price the farmer should get. So the pricing policy defined in the Essential Commodities Act ECA, Essential Commodities Act ECA, and APMC Act, Agricultural Market Committee, okay, Act में aims to ensure that farmers receive lucrative price for the produce while also ensuring it is affordable to consumers. As I told you, it's a balance between the farmer's income and consumer's cost. In order to do so, the central government sets minimum support price for 24 crops every year, though rice, wheat, and some other 1 or 2 maize and etc. are the key crop in which minister support price is applied. But 24 crops can be sold at the minimum support price in the mandis. Food Corporation of India, several other state-level agencies working in support of FCI are required to procure. So every state has a state cooperative marketing federation or something like that in the cooperative sector or in the state sector. They, in support with FCI, they will procure at the minimum support price. For that, government also fund them. But what was happening is that this mechanism operates effectively only in few commodities, primarily in, as I told you, wheat, rice, cotton, and only in a few states. Many farmers are required to trade with other buyers at prices lower than the specific price. So what has happened is that you go to the market and they says, okay, government रख रखा है, हम तो नहीं खरीदने वाला है, ये price दोगे तो हम खरीदेंगे. That was lower than the minimum price. That's how farmers were exploited, and this was predominant in the eastern India due to ineffective procurement and lack of alternative buyers. So, because the cooperative systems and the state system were not very strong in this side, and FCI was also not that dominant player in this side. So, many farmers in the West Bengal, Bihar, Jharkhand now, Bihar earlier, were suffering the problems that though there was a minimum support price, they were never getting that minimum support price. They were selling at much lesser. In fact, many times they were selling at lower the cost. You have seen perhaps that many times Maharashtra side and other things, they throw the onions or they throw the produce on the road because the cost and the price they get in the market, there is no point in selling it. It's better to waste it. This is called level of frustration of the farmers. So in spite of government's all this effort, there is a lot of failure in links and intention of people who are in the middleman in the system. They create this mismatch of farmers' reasonable income and customers' reasonable cost. And this is still continuing at various levels in different states. Now, farm reforms at 2020. Now, 2020 is very recent time, post-COVID or during COVID. Before that, Government of India, I will go a little details on this because this is a very recent phenomena and many of you are perhaps aware of it. Government brings bills. This is, I'm moving away from the subject. Government brings bills in the parliament. Once the parliament debates on the bills and passes the bill, it goes to the president, and when he approves, it becomes an act. So on 27th September 2020, you can understand that was the time of high COVID. 3 farm bills were approved that were earlier passed by the Indian Parliament. What are the bills? Let us know. Farmer Produce Trade and Commerce Promotion and Facilitation Act 2020. This act permits farmers to sell their produce outside the APMC regulated mandis, but it does not abolish them. So that means there will be APMC, but you are at liberty to sell outside also. That means what was illegal earlier, in the sense, a lot of farmers had to sell, I was just telling you, outside the mandis at a lesser price. So they said you can sell outside the mandis, and mandis will also be there. It aims to provide lucrative price to farmers via alternative trade channels. So primarily it looks good. You sell it through the alternative channels. Maybe they will be giving you a higher price than the minimum support price I am giving or the state is giving. And it also prohibits state governments from imposing any tax on the trade of produce outside the mandis. So what this said, outside the mandi, if I trade, I don't have to pay tax. But if I trade in mandi, I have to give a mandi tax. Try to understand this. Earlier, what was happening is that, as I told you earlier, that many farmers are required to trade with other buyers at prices lower than the specified MSP, especially in Eastern India due to ineffective procurement and lack of alternate buyers. Number one. Number two, but this mechanism operates effectively only for a few commodities, primarily wheat, rice, cotton, and only in few states. So, one is you have to sell it in mandi. Outside you cannot sell technically. But now the new law came. They said, yes, outside you can sell. There will be no tax. If you sell in mandi, there will be tax. Mandi mein I will buy at a minimum support price. Mandi ka bahar mein it is a price negotiated between you and the buyer. So if the buyer is a strong buyer, he can buy your all products, but he can buy at a lesser price than the minimum selling price. And mandi mein jo log hai, they may be in connivance with the outside buyers, can sales, no, we have no money, we cannot buy now at minimum price, we have not got fund from the government, etc. etc. So there is no assurance that system will work in benefit of the farmers. Though the intention was that the farmers gets another channel to sell their products at a higher or lucrative price via alternative trade channels without tax. But in reality, that's what farmers brought out. The farmers' statement was that this is legalizing my sale outside the market, and though government is saying minimum support price is there in APMC or Agricultural Produce Market Committee, there is no guarantee that it will be purchased there. So I may have to go and sell outside at a lesser price, which was technically not allowed earlier. But now with this act, it is allowed. So big buyers, industrialists, they can artificially reduce the price and acquire the products. Suppose I produce a lot of apples in Himachal, and the apple will be spoiled within a few weeks or something like that if it's not in the cold storage, and I bring it in the mandi, and mandi wala says ki no minimum sales price pe hamara jo quota tha hum le liya. So what they have to do, they have to go to the outside. Now he knows that this will be spoiled, so he will demanding at a lesser price. Farmers are losers. So this was a point of conflict between the farmers and the act implementation, government. Though the intention of the government was good, because it was opening up that a farmer can sell in anywhere in India for that matter. Second act was Farmers Empowerment and Protection, Agreement of Price Assurance and Farm Services Act 2020. It creates a national framework for contract farming. That means, suppose I am Pepsi, Lay's. I make Lay's chips. So I can enter into an agreement with those potato producer. I can give them seed and I can fix a price that at this price I will buy it from you, because that particular potato will go for manufacturing potato chips. Although contract farming was legal prior to enactment of this act as well, even before this act came in, contract farming was going on, because Pepsi was the first company which came in India and promised to export sauce and other things. So tomato, a particular type of tomato was, they brought the seeds and given to the farmers, and those tomatoes was purchased by them and processed and sauce, table sauce, as you see, Kisan and other thing. So those were available. So contract farming was legal prior to enactment of this act. This act aims to provide a complete, comprehensive outline for such an arrangement. This will enable farmers to contract a guaranteed price for their produce prior to producing or sowing. So in one way, this was taking away the uncertainties of the final produce price, the uncertainties of the vagaries of weather, because you can take a Fasal Bima Yojana and you can recover your cost, and you can go for contract farming and other thing. But every farm cannot go for contract farming, because only some products which are into the food processing value chain, they can be produced in a contract farming, like I told you, potato or maize or tomato, or some certain vegetables, which can be further processed and sold in packaged goods and other things. As you see now, a lot of millets and organic farm and other things are producing a lot of products which are farm field sealed in machine and then sold at quite a good price. So this is another act which was brought in by the government. And finally, there was Essential Commodities Act 2020. The Essential Commodities Act has been amended to state that the Government of India, note here, the Essential Commodities Act has been amended to state that Government of India will list few commodities as essential and control their supply and prices only in cases of war, famine, extended price and natural calamities. So that means Essential Commodities Act में जो protection farmer को मिल रहा था, that will not be available unless there is a war, famine or extraordinary price rise or a natural calamity. So suppose you have produced a lot of crop, or there is a production of onion. I tell you how our country is, farmers are in a peculiar end, I would say like that. Say, suppose Indian farmer has produced a good onion. So if the supply is more, you have learned economics, so the price will come down. So there is no support price by the government. Neither adequate storage capacity is there, so that it can be stored, because onion, potato, this can be stored and sold later on. Potato is much better in Bengal because there is a huge number of cold storage and other thing, but not in Odisha. So potato farmers, if they do not produce enough potato, the potato price shoots up. So now suppose I have produced adequate quantity of, and I am selling at a price. The moment price government feels it is high, government imports from Pakistan and other places onion on other vegetables and bring down the price. So farmers are not getting the market price. When the farmers are producing more, market price is coming down, they are getting the market price, and that is very below their cost of production. On the other hand, when they are producing less, market price is high, they are not getting the high market price because government is importing a lot of onion and reducing the price, so they are distorting the market. I hope I made it clear, but I will repeat it again. Suppose farmers, particularly Nasik and other things where onion is produced in a big way, they have, for some reason or other, suppose that they have produced less, and but the cost of production was there, what they have because of the lack of rain or whatever the reason, farm produces less, so the market price is high. Market price is market price, demand and supply. But now, if government imports a lot of onion from outside, then naturally the supply is more, so the price comes down, and the farmer doesn't get the price what he was expecting. So farmers also sell at a lower price, maybe price in which he could not his production price ka niche. But this is not happening when the farmer is producing more. Government is not taking and exporting it, so that domestic market price remains lucrative for the farmer as well as adequate for the consumers to buy. So, though government's role was that, but government, to appease a section of the population, government was unable to handle these two ends properly most of the times. Now, when the Essential Commodities Act amendment came in, government straight away washed its hands off, and they said, except war, famine, extraordinary price rise, and natural calamities, we are not going to control supply or prices and other things. So it is at the wish of the government. Government is not compelled by the law. So if government finds the onion prices going up, if government wish, the Ministry of Commerce wishes, they can import a lot of onion. So onion traders will benefit. Poor farmer, he will not be able to sell at his cost price. I, as a consumer, I am happy that onion prices come down. But the farmer who has spent so many months to produce that onion, he is unable to sell at a price which is his cost. So this is the problem. This is the reason for which these three Farms Act farmers could not accept, and there was a huge strike in Delhi. All the farmers were moving towards Delhi to talk with the government and agriculture ministry and other thing to withdraw these acts or to modify these acts. But unfortunately, after a series of discussions and other things, ultimately it failed. And as I told you and highlighted, the enactment of these acts has created fear in the minds of farmers and has led to widespread protest. Despite several rounds of talks, the government and the farmers have not been able to arrive at a mutually agreeable solution, so the acts could not be implemented. Though a lot of people, depends on the which side of the line you are, agreed that these were the good forward-looking acts, and some people said these were not fully forward-looking acts. These were more in favor of big farmers or big industrialists who are into the food processing sector. It was more in favor of food processing sector than for agriculture sector, though every act was named with farmers. So this farm reform, which was claimed as a historical reform, ultimately could not implement it. But there is need for farm reform very badly if we want to improve from the stage we are to the next stage of development. Like industry mein, the development took place during 90s, development took place in 20. Now with AI and other coming, so we have to move into a different phase of development. Otherwise, you'll be backward. Similarly, in agriculture also, with time, if you do not improve and develop yourself and your techniques, your technology, your equipments, your storage capacity, etc., then you will be in trouble. Farmers' income cannot be doubled, farmers' income cannot increase, and farmers will remain, maybe they improve, will be very incremental. So this is all about our agri environment. So far, we have covered it from the time of independence to the 2020s, the Major Farms Act. Now, key players in the agricultural sector are actually merchant middleman, agent middleman, speculative middleman, processor, and facilities middleman. Just because middleman, it's not that their role is bad. They play a very important role. Some players, like everywhere, will be bad, good, both. Merchant middlemen are the ones who take title of the goods they deal in while buying and selling. So wholesalers, he will buy the material and keep it in his godown. He will have a big godowns. So, and when there is a demand, and then he will release slowly. Or when there is a shortage, he will sell it at a higher price to take advantage of the seasons. So they mainly assemble the goods from various localities, store the produce, and often release them in off season, since they store them in the peak arrival season. Because when the peak season में फसल हुआ है, you get it at a lesser price, you store it, and when the season is off and aste rice and other things are in shortage, then you sell it at a higher price and you make a little more money. Retailers are those who buy from wholesalers and come to the village or small towns and sell it. So your grocery shops and other things are retailers, etc. Village merchant, they purchase the produce of those farmers who have either taken finance from them. Now village merchants, village में काफी lenders है, unofficial lenders, जिसको government unorganized sector lenders. So they in return give their produce to the lenders to settle their debt. They also supply essential consumption. These lenders also supply seeds and other things on credit. And when the fasal ho gaya, then they buy the fasal at a agreed price to clear the debt. मशाका खोर्स बोल के एक बात है. They are basically as wholesalers and majority deal in fruits and vegetables. They are colloquial terms of big retailers who often act as small wholesalers. So they will buy in bulk and then retail में they लोग बेच देगा and etc. Now agent middleman, they will not hold the goods. They will tie up between the farmer and the buyer and take a commission in between. So they are sometimes commission agents, generally operate in the wholesale market, acts as a proxy. So commission agents are, I'll give you some examples. Suppose I have a rice mill. I can appoint a commission agent. You procure, I need, suppose my rice mill is 100 tons per day. So I need 100 tons of raw rice per day. So commission agents arranges 10 truckloads or something like that. And he gets 3% or 2% commission on the agreed price. This is annual contract or seasonal contract. So operates in the wholesale market and acts as a proxy of either as a seller or a buyer by representing them in buying and selling of products. I hope you understand this very clearly. Brokers, they are not employed by anybody, but they take advantage of, okay, Andhra Pradesh mein there are, of course, within the country, within the state movement of certain agricultural produce for a restriction hai. Suppose there is some district where there is a good produce and some district Kona mein there is not produce. So brokers will try to link them and take a cut from there. So they claim brokerage from buyer and also seller depending on the market situation. So suppose there is a good amount of mango in some part of Bombay, the Alfonso and something like that. And there is a demand in Calcutta, so brokers will link them and brokers will earn the brokerage. Speculative middleman, they guesstimate that price will go up, so they buy now and they sell when the price is high, they will sell it off. Processors are the ones who hire agents, as I told you, commission agents, to buy for them from areas where production is high, either and bring on their business either on their own or on custom basis. So if like in Odisha, there is an area Bargarh, there is a lot of rice mills are there. So they have their commission agents, they procure the rice and give it to them. And we get a commission out of that. Facilitated middleman is that who create the facility of marketing process. Okay, they get a fees for that. There is a good role in on importance of agriculture marketing, optimization of resource use output, increase in farm income, widening of market, growth of agro-based industries. If the marketing people are doing a good job, agro-based industries can be certain of their raw material supply and grow. And if it is regularly, farmers are sure of selling their products, they can invest in new farm tools and equipment and produce more. They can use high quality of fertilizer, seeds, etc. And in the whole marketing process, as I told you, only 7% of the people are actual farmer. Baki 55%, that means 48% are involved in agriculture. So it is a huge employment generation in the agricultural sector. To sum it up, as you have seen in the early stage, we had a very bad stage. The food security was a private thing. Then came 60s when the green revolution took place and we became quite a large producer of basic agricultural products like rice or wheat or cotton and etc. Though the quality of cotton is not very good, we still import from US, from Egypt and other places. But during 24-25, our growth is nearly 55% of the population, as I told you, are in agriculture. And agriculture and allied sector is estimated to experience a robust growth of 4.6%. You remember the national agricultural policy was aiming 4% growth, but we have achieved and crossed that. And government is trying to develop the food processing sector so that they can absorb the agricultural produce, and they are creating a lot of food park, agricultural supply chain, cold storages, promoting food park in Punjab and other places, so that tomato can be tomato sauce, then maize can be popcorn, and many other millets and small items, they can be packaged and sold at a higher price, and farmers can also get a better income, and consumer can buy at a decent price. That is what the government's basic policy about agriculture. This is in broad our agricultural environment from independence till now. Thank you.